academic. We need to be more hands-on. And this way, this brother, if you can help support, if we can all contact Raven, he's got a network system, if you want to explain it, we can all be involved in and help each other to grow.
Yeah, so what is this? I was trying to find tangible ways to unite black people, right? Tangible ways.
Black Betterment
building.
Content over everything!
So how I'm doing it right now is whatever network we can jump on, whether it's Facebook, WhatsApp, websites, forums, that's what I'm doing. So if you have a skill or if you wanna be insight into any kind of network, contact me and I'll add you to it. That's what it is. That's stage one. Stage two is getting the creative and the development team to develop our own platform. So if we're on WhatsApp, we want to make our own WhatsApp. Yeah, if we're on Facebook, we'll make our own Facebook.
Media as well.
Media as well. Yeah, so it's a step-by-step process. So when I talk care, I might not be the person who can actually directly generate the change. I might be able to spark the brain of someone who can and have them come forward and push their skills. You see what I'm saying?
Like the broker.
There you go. So skills are important, and also we have young children at the moment, and they're going to be educated. So we want to influence them into being educated in activities that can benefit the collective community, right? You know what I mean? So I can give advice about things that, like right now, we live in a technical age. So coding is important. If you can teach your kid to understand how to code, they can make the next Facebook. They can make the next WhatsApp. I mean, kids do it all the time in their bedroom. Yeah. Look at I forgot the brother who made WhatsApp. What's his name? Come on, Mark. What's his name?
Facebook.
I should know this. Shame on me, but I only seem to know African.
That's all good.
Yeah. But that brother there, that man, in his youth became a multi-billionaire, and now he has the ability to change continents if he so chooses.
If he so chooses, which he doesn't choose.
Well, that's his prerogative.
But for real,
he can do what he wants to do, right? Yeah. So I'm saying we want to make our own Zuckerberg, innit? And we want to make sure when we're making them, they're connected. Because one of the challenges we find is there's many black brothers and sisters who become successful because they're not connected to the black people collectively. As soon as they're successful, they're gone.
Yeah. They're gone. I was going to throw in Oprah's name there, and as a person who can do that, she can change the continent or at least countries. Ain't doing it. So that's going somewhere else now. What is it?
She's a positive lady.
She's positive,
and I will never
I will never point to everybody.
But I will never point. See, one of my jobs is never point things at people and say this. Yeah, it's like it's about us now influencing our children and our collective. So it's automatic.
Well, I was only saying it in the respect of I think there's someone stopping her. I don't think that she don't want to do that. I think there's forces that when we raise ourselves, they're gonna try and knock us down. They're gonna.
That's the thing, though. If you're gonna try and raise yourself on someone else's system, good luck.
Right. And I think that's what it is. So whether it's a standing army or something that goes with it, I've heard that many a time that we need the army to go with the productivity and with our movement, because otherwise we're just going to be threatened. Look at the Panthers, look at Black Wall Street. We've done all this already. I mean, Black Wall Street, that was straight after, that was people who were slaves that did that, right? Research Black Wall Street. And then they were knocked out by people who had an army who wanted to bomb them up. And to be fair, I see the same thing as with Africa, the African nations and things. So while I hear that we have to do what you're dealing with, and I completely 100%, I think we need to have some kind of backative muscle, and we need to.
See, I actually had this discussion in my own head philosophically, because we have the Nation of Islam who constantly come over here, and I kind of pondered with myself whether or not it would be a good idea to necessarily align with nations such as that, because if you know anything about Malcolm X, the reason he was able to do what he did is because he had the backing of the nation. And then as soon as he started to bring himself away from the nation, that's when we saw kind of thing. So it's absolutely. You don't want to follow it.
Oh yeah, big. On the what? Sorry.
On the right.
Okay. He was able to travel. He was able to. You see, when you don't learn that system, how you supposed to even come up against that?
Yeah,
sure. Understand? You need to know what you're living in. That's what I don't like about the violence.
That's it.
What violence are we talking about again? What violence?
With the Malcolm X. Right.
With the Nation of Islam, I never saw any violence. I know that Malcolm X was tragically killed, but outside of that reality, I've never seen the Nation of Islam ever commit any violence openly.
About mind control. You know what I notice about sometimes the Nation of Islam, to children, they can be very threatening. That's not the kind of, because your power is not always authority, and that's what I don't like.
Well, what do you think that is? Because what do you think it is about the Nation of Islam that might make them scary to children?
I just think it's about the whole, when they come, it's like, when you listen to someone, when they start talking, then you can start, but everything comes up with the first perception, right? So when you get the first perception of them and how militant they are, everybody is soldier like that. And the people know they're rolling like, some people know they're forefront. I am at the back, but I'm helping the people at the back. And what I notice with the Nation of Islam is it's not necessarily I want to be fighting for the rest of my life. You understand? That's not what I want. But when I think about Marcus Garvey, that was the first one my mum gave us. Marcus Garvey and teach. And when I first read those books, I understood that Marcus wasn't about that kind of war. It was a different war. Because we're fighting a war in ourselves as it is. So imagine fighting a war in ourselves and we don't even know what side we are in ourselves.
Sis, I think you've raised some good points, but I always try to correct people on this area. You're correct, but with the Nation of Islam, I do feel that outside marketing has made black people look at them in a different light to what they actually are. So, for example, you know, there wasn't one Nation of Islam member to a part of their doctrine, a part of their rule system, own any kind of weapon.
Okay, I
what I'm saying,
that,
right?
but then your words are weapons. So when you use that kind of fight talk, if I'm going to say something to you, and you all heard what I had to say, but then you all took it on a different way. You understand what I'm saying? No one don't want to be soft out here, especially no man don't want to be soft out here. So when you are listening to that, you're going to take it, I'm going to be a man and I'm going to do my thing. We never made our young youth man know it's okay, yeah, to not be feminine, to be empathetic and those kind of things. But when I think about Nation of Islam, I'm honest, when I think about it, I think about war, I think about the army, I think about, and that's what I think, and that's not, war and army is not necessarily fighting.
I think we should be very sensitive when we talk about the Nation of Islam. The reason I was talking about it in particular, I wasn't necessarily talking about it in a militant sense, because to be able to prove that we're militant is very kind of conspiratorial. Still, it hasn't been officiated. But we cannot deny that in America they did have that level of intimidation. When Malcolm X, I think there was someone who was shot and they went to a police station. They demanded the person to be released and they had to comply with that. That is a level of intimidation, which I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, because that's just representation.
That's the only thing that's the only thing that changes the world. It seems to be violence.
I still think
it seems to be.
What I would say is very different. Meant to appease you. Did you ever see women and mothers do that in the Nation of Islam? No.
Yeah, they weren't afforded.
Now, here's what the Nation of Islam. Well, here's what I'm trying to say. The Nation of Islam understood like how to position people. So they understood that you know for aggressive kind of movements, they would need the militant men's side, right? The warrior class, and the women were the nurture class. So you as a woman member would never be expected to charge into police.
I come from a generation where we had no that.
No, so we had no what?
No that, yeah?
No what, sorry?
So my mum,
Dad.
had to be my mum and dad. You understand? He said had to be man and woman.
Now, let me jump in there. I'm going to give your mother 100% respect for that, right? But the role of me as a community worker is to make sure she never has to be there to take that respect. Does that make sense? So your mum did the right thing.
Yes.
Yeah?
Under the circumstances.
She did the right thing, as in like, for whatever reason the man wasn't there, and she played both roles. So we give her 100%. Yeah. But our job as the males is to make sure she never has to
that don't happen.
Make sure her daughters never have to make that decision.
For real.
It's so make sure that the men can play the men roles, and women can play the women roles. And we come together.
Go. Was you going to question the roles? Gender roles. I don't know what chapter that is in my book, but that's in my book.
That's established. So that's established the roles, yeah? So you're here, you have a husband and you have a child. And the grizzly bear comes here. Who distracts the grizzly bear and who runs with the child? Who does this?
Well, do you know what? Let me be controversial. I was going to be controversial. Go on.
I'm going to tell you with the first instinct. So if my mister didn't catch it, I caught it fast, and I knew there was something I could do. And that means
I agree.
protected my mister and my
I agree.
children.
I agree.
Womanly instinct
That's what
But here's my gift to you, sister. Here's my gift to you. My gift to you is to try to raise men who automatically think I'm going to die in front of this bear before I watch my wife and child be gutted to death. That's my
Does that
job.
mean I should just...
We don't want no shrinking violence.
Then if the man dies, what happens with the woman and child?
Well, if the man might die, she's going to.
He will die with a beer.
Well, we raise men to understand that if there are women who have children, they must take them on as their wife if they pick it up. They are an option to take on to play the
I'm
next
saying with
role.
regards to the bear.
Well, we have to go back. Well,
Guys, with regards to the bear.
we have to go and get the bear out.
If the bear kills the man, what then happens with the children, with the woman and child? With regards to the bear.
Well, hopefully
Who's
he's
going to protect them now from the bear?
hopefully he's yamming the man while the woman runs off with a beer.
I mean, you know, it's
Until next time.
Egyptian, back in the Egyptian times, men and women were classed as very much the same, and roles were not very much differentiated. Yeah,
I agree.
And there were warrior
physically,
classes,
you're saying,
warrior women.
With regards to muscular, we can do more physical things, and then with regards to their nurturing type, they are more. But the roles are not very much. You're right. And what is expected of a man? So I'd expect a mother to protect her child with the same.
I agree. We agree.
Like a lioness.
There's collective principles and unique individual principles. So, for example, you watch wrestling, right? You know, there's some big women in wrestling, and they have to pick a man. Right?
Capable
I suspect they will be bigger than the men. They pick most of them, right? In that situation, they should fight the bear. Okay? But not all the women are that size, though. They're not in WWE.
I'm saying.
That's what
there
I'm
is
saying.
no really
No. But we have to have universal. But we have to have universal principles that are the default that we have to.
But I get that as well. Yeah, I get that. But I also get that as well. I think we have to have a what's it called?
Nothing's
Balance.
in stone.
Yeah, there you
Nothing's
go.
in stone. Nothing's in stone, but I think it's
What's it called
necessary
with
for black
drugs?
people to have universal concepts
what's it called with
that can
drugs?
change when you review.
You have to have
so if the woman is twice as size,
in
why not have her come up with it?
moderation.
Right.
I know like women like to be kept and whatnot, but I understand that sometimes you must understand.
And vice versa.
I never heard that. You men are closer. HES and ES are closer than you think. Because you both rely on the belief. I believe that God does exist. I believe that God don't exist. Women are the same. You just
I agree, sister. Now, I think I'm hoping the because what you're saying is important, right? So, what is it that you feel men are doing that should be more split? That from your opinion, what are you uneasy about when it comes to men doing that you feel should be more of a split kind of role, in your opinion? Yeah, because you know.
Yeah, it's going to be more of the caring, more of understanding, more of
Women have ambitions, they have aspirations, and if you need to be, if she wants to go to work, then you need to have the empathy to be at home for the children and for herself as well. And in this day and age where we don't live in, like, say, the Stone Age, right, and women don't have to go out and risk their lives while they might be pregnant, right? They have AC offices, they have comfortable, safe environments. Women can choose now to work and earn a bit more. And we can choose to be at home and explore ourselves as men even more as well. It's a freedom to do both.
Yeah.
I agree with you in the sense that the environment has kind of dictated a lot of our physicality, and that means that when there are certain scenarios, there is a default reaction.
In extreme circumstances, yeah.
But in this day and age, it's a lot more nuanced than that. We find ourselves in a lot less extreme kind of things like in that situation.
So therefore we
the
can
only thing that fully still separates us is the ability to give birth. For me,
But I'm still not seeing activities that are separated via male female. If you can tell me that I want as female to be able to do
Is
this.
that what you're saying? Are you both agreeing then?
I would say for me personally, the whole empathy thing, for me personally, for men, this is for black and white, whatever, the empathy game is whack. As of now, it's whack. We have daughters who are running X, Y, and Z because we can't like them, empathise with them. We have daughters with loose morals. We have daughters who think that they can do X, Y, and Z. But at the same time, I would question, there are men out there who want their daughters to be pure virgins, right? But they want the rest of the world to be their harem. So it's that level of empathy.
Hypocrisy,
There's a level of empathy that men are now missing now, and they seem to want to have society and like have their cake and eat it as well. They want to have a patriarchy where the woman is doing X, Y, and Z, but they want their daughters, exactly, they want their daughters to be a pure virgin, etc. And I feel like for me, that is a part where men have been slacking for a good while, and this is why we're seeing such a backlash in women nowadays, because of that inability to empathise with their situation. That's what I feel.
Okay, do you agree with what the brother said?
Yeah, I agree. This is the thing. 1 second, sir. What I think is that I think anything my mistake can do, I can do. If he can do it better than me, it's because of if he's male. It's just
Conditioning.
the genetics of that. Okay. But it's not that I can't try to do it. I can do it. I have no issue with men being stronger than women or whatever. I have no issues with that. But I do see from a mum point of view, especially when I'm parenting my children, is like how I would be more, like I said, empathetic towards my son about a situation where his dad's like, oh no, forget that, no, whatever. Because sometimes I feel that even as men, we need someone to, go there, you know? And I think that's the only problem. Nowadays, women are doing what men do. They do work, they do this, they do that,
And is that a good thing?
And sometimes I think it's not a good thing. The reason why I think that is because we are not men.
I agree.
And men is not women. And then when we do those kinds
Something's
of things,
missing though.
that's when, we get that crossing over the line of
Something's missing in that though.
And
But
I want to talk about that next.
Yeah.
I have not, I'm not, I don't.
It's a big
Yeah, it's a bit, so I prefer to not.
But the thing is this, I've yet to really hear something that men are doing that you cannot do.
I just,
apart from give birth.
Yeah.
Oh, the men are doing that you can't do.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
understand my argument.
But
Yeah.
restrictions are in place.
Yeah.
So
I want to comment on that.
we stop our women from doing things
Well,
by telling them they can't do
Is
it.
that-
Because it's a man's thing.
but I'm still trying to find because
it's a woman's thing.
for me,
And you're putting those
I would like to get universal principles in place that can be changed. But before I can have these universal principles, I have to understand what is it that you might be fear of losing through these principles.
I'd put to you that we still have this very patriarchal, sexual oppressive kind of thing. When we talk about, again, what can women do?
What can men do? Women can't.
For the most part, especially here in the West, women are sexually repressed. When you talk about women's sexuality, it is always in a negative light. I'll give you an example. A woman is pure until she goes to her wedding day, right? And then after the consummating the marriage, what? They're not pure?
Hey, for real.
Well,
See, I was just gonna say, for me personally, that perpetrates a terrible message. This idea that men are corrupted.
That's a religion thing. That's a religion
And
thing.
everything that a man does to you, right, is corruption upon you. And that's a negative aspect to have when we're talking about sexuality. Now, when we're talking about sexuality, especially in that context, we're talking about sexuality pre-contraception. So this was when a lot of women would go about, they would get pregnant very carelessly, and the man wouldn't be about to look after the child. So they had to put these practices and these social norms and these laws in place so that...
Because society enforced it.
Exactly,
Society enforced
so
that.
that the father wouldn't be forced to then pay for a baby that he didn't consent to.
In this
Now-
patriarchal society.
Exactly, but now in this day and age, we do have contraception, so that is less of the case now. Women should have the sexual freedom to explore themselves.
We have better intelligence to know better as well.
When it comes to sexual, to me, there's two different types of things. If you're going to be going around and sleeping around, that's not cool. It's not, I don't, whether it's man or woman.
Yeah, there you go. Man or woman.
Yeah, man or woman.
Make sure you drop that in
Like,
there.
when you choose a sexual partner, that's your partner. You do not give yourself to everybody. You're supposed to honour yourself. Right? When you have sexual intercourse, right, especially I think when it gets worse for women because we carry the child. We can't fling seed, man fling seed to us. We can't do that. We carry the child, we nurture the child.
And that is the
You know
fundamental
what?
difference.
Technically, that's kind of not true. Apparently, there's a thing called parthenogenics, where women have their own sperm, and women have got their own sperm, and women can fertilize their own eggs. Unfortunately, in evolution, it's called parthenogenics, right? And it's, I think, where the concept of the virgin births came from.
Okay, well, this
now,
is-
women have, it has happened, But in our time, it's been unsuccessful. Babies are born, but they're born deformed,
But brother,
and they don't survive
brother,
through plastigenics. But
brother, when it comes to
I'm just being controversial.
Yeah, I know. When it comes to actually trying to get people, wait, I just wanna.
Yeah, go ahead, man. Go ahead.
Yeah, you say your thing.
When we were talking about this thing, we were talking about post-contraception. You have to be very careful when we're talking about pre-contraception like context and post-contraception because they're two different.
But once again,
Go on.
I've always said men and women are equal, but they're not similar. Why do I say that? The thing it is a fortunate gift that women are responsible for an unborn child in their womb for 9 months. So because of that, there is a greater responsibility that the man just doesn't have. He isn't worthy enough for such responsibility. So in that case, at a certain point in their life, their body is responsible not for one individual, another. Now, if you want to make a decision on yourself, that's you. But when you have an unborn child in you that doesn't make a choice, I would say it might be collectively necessary to make sure we try to make sure the health of that unborn child is the best it can be. And that's why. So I don't agree with any behavioural patterns of going around here, going there. But I'm saying you definitely want to minimise any kind of illness you might get in that process for the sake of the unborn child. So that's where we are similar, but different.
For real. Can I throw a spanner in?
I just wanted to
Go on.
add on to
And then
that.
I'm going to drop a spanner.
When we're talking about, again, the development of the fetus and the betterment of the fetus, right? We find women's sexuality a lot more taboo than we do cigarettes, than we do car emissions, than we do global warming, right?
Yeah.
All of these things which are contributing to the damaging of fetus.
To the disaster,
When we're talking about the development of fetuses and whether or not sexuality is a thing, when we're talking about that, right? I go from home up a really good point the other day. When religion talks about reproductive systems as just a way of reproduction, and sex should be only done for reproduction, she said, well, hang on a minute. You're still able to have sex during pregnancy. And during pregnancy, your hormones actually arise to the point where you're a lot more horny during pregnancy than you are in your normal
biological
kind of
perspective.
thing. Exactly.
Yeah, man.
So when we talk about this thing, when we talk about, I guess, the morality behind sexuality, let's talk about it academically. Let's talk about
Thank you.
the facts.
I agree.
Let's
Thank
talk
you.
about beyond including, but beyond the aspects
social,
of just religion
yeah,
and the
and
social
social
norms
side,
that we
yes.
placed in place
Thank you.
beforehand.
And
Because for me
morality.
personally, I've seen historically men
Yes.
who have enjoyed the freedom to just sleep around.
That's right.
Unwillingly, right?
Murder, do everything.
Whatever.
Do anything.
Well, in terms of women, that freedom has been reserved until this day in certain cultures. So that's where I'm trying to say, if there's a freedom in between men and women, right? If there's equality, there should be equality for both men and women. When we talk about the differences between sex between men and women, what differences separate men and women? It takes two to make one baby.
Yeah.
So what are the differences that allow men to be a little bit more frivolous with their sexuality?
Let me throw a spanner in. Wait.
I've just told you.
Let me-
So let's. He's used three
Oh, the
points.
baby, yeah.
So
of course,
when
the
it
baby.
when it comes to like a collective betterment, I would say that we want to be health conscious. So smoking and all this stuff is stuff that we would definitely stay away from that, whether you're pregnant or not. So from my perspective,
For real,
that.
whether you're pregnant or not, for real.
Now, from the perspective you just mentioned about what separates us, my first point remains that because women are responsible for the unborn, if they choose to have children, then that way there is a greater responsibility upon them. Yeah, but as men, we want to reform ourselves anyway to make sure that we're not just going around creating kids and then having
Irresponsibly doing so. Yeah. Let me throw a little spanner in a second though, but I'm just gonna throw a mad spanner in here. My perspective first. My perspective is that we say that there's things that women. There's nothing that a man can't do that a woman can't do, right? Man can do that a woman can't do. But obviously there's things that women can do that man can't do. I would put it in that perspective and say that men are jealous of women. But to throw it in a different direction now, I don't think we're supposed to be monogamous. I don't think we're biologically built to be monogamous, and we're forcing ourselves in our culture, it's mainly because of religion, to be monogamous when we're not designed. And let me give you an example of how we're not even designed to be monogamous. Men's penises are shaped, they have a coronal rib, and academics at the moment some academics are stating that that rim is used to push in their own semen, but pull out the previous partner's semen. So it's called, the subject matter is called sperm competition. Not only that, but you'll find that a man's sperm doesn't only contain fertilization, the minority of the sperm is for fertilization. The rest of the sperm is to kill a next man's sperm, which means you're biologically built to be promiscuous, more so than men. and if you compare us to the animal world, you have gorillas that have all the women, and it's just the women have one guy. Where chimps, we're supposed to be closer to, they have bigger testicles, and they have the women and the men, they're all having promiscuous sex, and they have similar biology to us in terms of phytosperm, and the same.
Two things I want to say to that, yeah? All right, so do you see us, because we have this conversation quite regularly.
Okay, that's
good. Do you
good.
see us as people, do you see us as animals? Yeah? Because you see when you think about animals or insects or whatever, they have a primary reasoning for life, yeah? And that primary reason, nothing, no social, whatever.
That's not true. That's not true.
No.
Chimps do have, they have a very complex social structure.
No, well, anyway, we'll get to that bit.
Okay, yeah.
Right, so it's either that, or do you just see yourself as a human being, which is not an animal, and that we are here, what are we here to do? What are we here for?
My level of evolution.
Yeah, ultimately, yeah, but that's why I feel that human beings will not survive. That's why insects, they will be here forever.
Wait, what's your answer to your question? Are you saying?
I'm asking you, I asked you that.
Yeah, I'll answer first if you want, and then I want to know yours as well.
I don't really have an answer to that, because I feel that for us to carry on, we're supposed to find a mate, and we're supposed to have our children. But when you're adding other, say, things to our cultures and add subcultures, then it gets complicated, yeah? But you know, the main reasoning is to actually go for multiply, if we're going to talk about, if we're going to go religion.
That's religion, yeah.
But if we don't do that, then we don't survive.
Oh, I'm not saying don't do that. The answer to your question would be, for me, is we are animals because and the category is mammal. And I think it's grey ape as well. I don't know. So we're mammals. We have similar characteristics to other animals. I don't think there's a problem with that.
Everybody else has a structure in their survival. You know,
All
that's why,
other
that's
animals,
why
you
when
mean?
you get like frogs, or when you get chipmunks,
Yeah.
or when you get, or whatever, everybody, it's about making sure that woman gets fertile.
It's true. It's true. We have a problem. Do you know what our problem is? Our intelligence. Our brains evolved to the point where it's giving us problems. We're not, for some reason.
Just as intelligent, but not just as intelligent. But you don't know intelligence.
No, you're right.
But they seem to be like you're saying. They seem to know what to do. They don't have the problems that we have. They don't mash up the world like we do. Our extra intelligence that gives us super ability to be able to do good. For some reason we can't do good. You could argue the people of the past did good with their intelligence. The ancient humans, you could argue from history, seem to have done better.
Humans do that we didn't do.
Build pyramids and big structures that we don't, and not mash up the world
I feel like
with their technology.
Their family was priority. Not every other woman was priority. You see, if you got your queen, I'm not saying they didn't go and do their thing, but you see, when you got your woman, that's your woman. This is the woman that's going to have your children, right? You're not going to have 10 other women that's got their children and birthday. They go, oh, that's my brother. Or when you go, oh, that's my brother.
Guys,
You may have a culture where that works.
I was just going to say,
it's the irresponsibility of human beings to not be able to organize themselves.
So that's not smart.
Because
it's not smart. It's
we're not
having
smart.
More choices.
We're not smart. And that's why my book's called The Stupidity of Human Beings. I think I decided that.
Come take over everything from your family.
Come, man, say it straight. Man, don't listen to BBC. Man, don't listen to ITV.
Sorry, 1 second. Sorry.
There's a big difference. If you're talking about yes, all of those talking points do have gravity, because there should be a kind of like priority. It's not. Absolutely. That's a very good point. It's very good point. As a result of them not having these, you see a lot less women